Hi, Kevin Ledoux at Ledoux Guitars. I got such a wonderful series of responses and comments a couple of days ago when I did this video on placing braces on a guitar top and how I make those decisions that I thought maybe I'd go another step with that process and maybe show you some of the tricks and little gimmicks that I do when I brace up a top. I do all of my bracing with a Go Bar deck. That's what I'm standing next to right here. But if you don't have a Go Bar deck, you could still do this just as easily. All you need when you lay your braces down on the top to keep the arch of the top, you just need thin slats of wood to go underneath the top to act as a caul underneath, and you'll need a bunch of these cam clamps. Um, I don't know if you can do this with any other type of clamp because you need a long reach, but you can use this method. I use this method for 20 years of the 30 I've been building until I finally decided to go with the Go Bar deck. So I'm going to be breaking the video up in little segments here and there, but we'll get started, and I'm going to show you the first thing that I do with an upper cross strut. We'll start with this upper cross strut here. I've already glued this down, and as you can see, I use several Go Bars on this. I want plenty of pressure to spread the pressure out on that brace because it's quite heavy. And anytime you glue a brace down, of course, make sure you have good compliance between the brace and the top before you do any gluing. You notice there's a couple of blocks, one here and one here. I put those on. I can remove these now. When I have a line here for the brace, I put these on and I hold them down with one of the Go Bars, because when I put the brace in, it allows me to just put it right up to it and then center the access hole for the truss rod right over the center line, and I don't get them moving around and the sliding and stuff. Which brings me to the point of glue. When you glue a brace down, in theory, I suppose you could just put enough glue on that brace so that you can see that it's wet. But I used to tell my students at the school where I taught guitar making to put a milky translucent coat of glue on that brace, and you will see some squeeze out. And I'd rather see a little squeeze out than see nothing, because that tells me that I've got good pressure, and a little bit of excess squeezing out of there is easily removed. If I can find one handy, I just use a piece of dowel rod that I shaped to a kind of a spatula, and I just reach in there and you can work that glue, that excess right out of there. And if you give that glue 7 to 10 minutes to bead up before you try and take it out, it'll come out in just little chunks of like mud or clay, and it doesn't make a smeary mess all over the place. Now, my X brace I glue down in a similar fashion. I use these blocks like these. They're just thin little wafers of wood, inch square approximately. And before I put my X down, of course, I fit it. I've got the joint cut in it. And I will use these to line up where that X is going to go, because once you get this assembled and you're ready to glue it down, it's not easy, to get it centered and get everything at the right angle and all. So if you've got something like this, it works out, I think, a lot better. At least it does for me. And I also have this pointed piece of wood right here that I put right in to the bottom edge of the X, or the bottom intersection of the X. And I Go Bar all of those down, of course, so that they stay put. And that allows me then, when I put the X down, to just bring it in and set it down in its position. And then I put my Go Bars down and we're clamped up. And I'll leave these for a few minutes. And then after 7 to 10 minutes, you pull these out, come back in with your stick, take your excess glue out, and you're good to go. Now, these are not done, of course, because we're going to put a patch over this, a wood patch to strengthen that joint and so on. But there we are with the X braces. So I'm going to move on now in the next segment to dealing with a bridge patch. I like to wait and put my bridge patch in after the X is down. Now, I guess some builders will put that patch down and then align their X braces with it, but I find this process a little easier for myself. It's easy enough to do, and the reason I do is because once you know what this angle is, you can cut the angles for the bridge patch. And I've cut one out here. This is in Palfero, and it fits very nicely. It just works out so well because I know what this angle is, so I can work to it. And a little bit of fitting or hand planing here is easy to do on a thin piece like this. So a good fit is very easy to achieve. So I'm going to do a thing or two off camera and then come back. As I showed you previously, I've already made my bridge patch, but I take a scrap of softwood and I will make a caul to go over that. And that's very important to me because this has to comply with the radius of the top, in this case 25 feet. I take the bridge patch itself ever so slightly and I run it over that disc radius to put some tooth in it, but also to thin it out a little bit here and get it to comply a little bit easier with the doming of the top. And then I take this block, which I simply trace the patch, and I cut this ever so slightly undersize, you know, the width of a bandsaw blade undersize. And I put this on the radius disc, and I thoroughly dome that so that when this goes down, it complies with the dome of the top, pushing the bridge patch down the way it belongs. So I'm going to glue this down, and I use a piece of a router pad. You could use similar materials, I'm sure, but I lay this down. And by the way, this is an 80 grit abrasive surface. It's 24 inches in diameter. These discs are not terribly cheap, but just a plug. I'm not subsidized. I'm not selling anything for anybody. But at the Luther supply places, I think you can buy these things, and I think they're $60 or $70. And that's just a pile of Buffalo bagels. You can buy these at places like, there's a company by the name of Fintech, Fintech Abrasives in Michigan. They're online. And McMaster-Carr even has these at much, much better prices. So, you know, don't go to those supply houses unless you have to. Save yourself a few bucks. But I put this over the abrasive to protect the top itself from being abraded. But also, you seem to get a little better glue joint if you've got just a little bit of spring in this. So here's my top. Make sure I got the dust out from underneath it and dust out of the top. And we're fitting very good. I think you can see this okay. So if y'all can wait for long enough for the glue to squeeze out on here, I'll put some on it and I'll actually glue this thing down. Now I do my X's, I do my upper cross strut first. I do my X brace next. I do the bridge patch as soon as the X is down. Then I do the tone bars. Then I do the finger braces and the little sound hole braces. All in all, when I'm ready to brace a top up, this is nowhere near a one-day process. You can, given the rate that the glue dries, you can do this easily in a day. You're not going to do anything with it for the day because you want everything to cure, but you can easily do it. And you notice that I'm putting a little bit of glue on the edge of that bridge patch where it comes up against the X. I think it's just a nice way to hedge that bed a little bit, give it a little more strength maybe. And as soon as that's positioned, my patch or my caul goes down over it, and I start right in with the go bars. I have my tone bars made and arched. You can probably see the arch there. And I'm going to glue the outside one down first because my caul is interfering a little bit with gluing that in tight. So I'm just going to do this one first so that you can see what's happening. I've also put down these patches again. I don't usually do this, but I just thought, you know, it might be a little easier for this one too. So we're just going to glue that down against those and then pull them once we have the go bars down where we want them. So I'm just setting in against those little guide blocks. And I try and keep my go bars so that they're pushing toward the X and or straight down. And the number of them that you need, I suppose, you probably don't need as many as I put down, but I tend to watch the glue squeeze out as I'm going. That tells me whether my clamping pressure is adequate or not. So I guess you just follow that and place your go bars so that you're spaced and have even pressure. And it's always better to overdo by a little bit than underdo by anything at all. So, and this is staying in position, so I'm going to take this guide right out of the way and just put that down there. And I don't know if you can see this, but I have, excuse me for that, I've overextended this brace right off the top. I like to do that. It makes it a little easier to scallop them down, and I'm taking my squeeze out of here a little bit early, I guess, but I'm afraid I'll forget when I'm fiddling around with the camera here. But even now you can see that comes up out of there quite nicely. And I'll have to get to the other side and do that pretty quickly. And we can pull this guide block out as well. And there we are. We're all set. So here I have my finger braces all made up. And two of these are arched to the 25-foot radius because they're offcuts from the tone bars. But these two are not. And when you have stuff this narrow, I can't arch this by machine on my shaper the way I do my X braces and tone bars. So I'm going to take the easy way out. This is not difficult at all. I'm going to lift this pad, and right here on my dome, on my radius dish, I'm just going to, can you see that okay there? I'm just going to arch those right there. It's quick and easy. It's probably already got it. Yeah, we're home. A little extra touch up there, and we got it. So then I'm going to glue those down. I have them marked out. Now, some luthers like a very tight joint right here between that finger brace and the lower X. I suppose it's nice to have that, but I'm less concerned because I'm going to ramp that off. If you don't ramp that off, then you may want to make a nice clean looking butt joint there. But these will all go down in my next move. I can put all four of them down if I've got enough go bars, and I do. And then I'll just cut in the angle and length needed for that sound hole brace here, and that'll go down. No sound hole brace is going on this side because we're going to put an LR Baggs Anthem system in there, and it needs space for the preamp and the control system. So I don't think it gets any more complicated than you've seen it right here. It's not a real difficult process, but if this is giving you some ideas and maybe some little things that you can use, why, happy to share from my shop to yours.